A heavenly glory blazed directly in my path. Shielding my eyes, I fought to keep them open. I hated driving east at this time of morning. As if Southern California freeways weren't dangerous enough, the sun hovered at just the right incline to make seeing nearly impossible. Through the thinnest of eye slits, I saw breaking red taillights as the cars ahead of me began to stack up at the 2nd Street off-ramp. I slowed as I maneuvered into the queue, stopping over the blackened starbust on the roadway where Miles Shepard had staged his fiery death. It wasn't something I wanted to remember. For the last 6 months, I'd done my best to reestablish my life as a writer and historian, to live a normal life in a normal world without angels and demons and heavenly wars and satanic plots. All right, so I'd met Lucifer face to face. It wasn't exactly the kind of thing you brought up in everyday conversation. Sports, investments, music, theater, what you did for a living. That was what normal people talked about, what I wanted to talk about. People looked at you weird when you told them you had angel DNA mixed into your human genomes. The fact that I had a chance to live a normal life again, only because I was marked by a seal from God, my own personal force field against Satan's minions, was beside the point. If other people could shove their personal embarrassments in the basement next to a footlocker with Uncle Abner's dresses, why couldn't I do the same with my angel heritage? My first step to forging a normal life was to get out of D.C., away from that maelstrom of ambition, pretense, and politics. You couldn't live there and not get caught up in it. You'd have a better chance of holding a tea party on the Florida coast during a Category 5 hurricane than you would distancing yourself from capital intrigue while living in D.C. So I moved back home to San Diego, hoping that an entire continent would be sufficient distance. The fact that my apartment was a short drive from El Cajon and Su Ling was... Who was I kidding? I moved back to be close to Su Ling, even though I didn't have a chance with her. Traffic began moving again, and I made my way to Madison Avenue and turned left. 2 miles, and I was passing Singing Hills High in the classroom where 6 months earlier I had been initiated into the realm of angels and demons and the unsettling notion that human life had been invaded by the supernatural, and that we were not, and never had been, alone in this world. I still had nightmares and flashbacks about the events atop the Emerald Plaza, surrounded by 24 angry angels and a horde of ravenous demons. It was hard to believe that 6 months had passed since President Douglas was assassinated. I hadn't seen an angel since. At least, not that I was aware. I mean, when they take human form, who can tell? I lived with one for 4 years and never had a clue he wasn't human. But the ache in my gut feared my hiatus from the supernatural might be coming to an end. Professor Forsyth had had that Paul Revere tone in his voice when he'd called, "The angels are coming! The angels are coming!" He hadn't actually said it, but he didn't have to. Believe me, it took a lot to drag me away from my cheese Danish and coffee in the morning. A mile further down the road, and I arrived at Heritage College. It was no surprise that the parking lot was full. Likewise, the area streets were lined with cars. If the universe was expanding, like scientists said, why was it I could never find a parking place? I ended up a quarter of a mile from the college. I must have looked like one of those Olympic walkers as I hurried toward the campus. My cell phone rang. It was my publisher. I considered letting it go to voicemail. I wasn't sure I was ready to talk to him yet. I tapped the green answer icon. "Grant? Higgins, have you read the contract?" "My agent emailed it to me this morning," I told him. "I haven't had time to go over it yet." "Whatever problems you have with it, I'm sure we can work them out," he said. "I don't mind telling you that I'm getting a lot of pressure from above on this one." I grinned. Pressure from above. Little did he know. "I told you I haven't had time to look at it yet. Can I at least tell them you're interested?" Of course I was interested. I needed the money. The publisher came to me on this one. They wanted a tell-all book documenting how the Douglas administration had systematically deceived me while I was researching President Douglas's biography.